What's up, you guys? Josh Tongol here. Today, I want to talk about a Neville Goddard technique that's extremely powerful when it comes to manifesting your desires, and it's one you can use in conjunction with or without visualizing, which you and I know if you try imagining so many things at once, it can sometimes be overwhelming. But check this out. Even if you don't visualize using this method, you could actually still manifest multiple things simultaneously, which is why this is so dope. And it's an expression, a phrase that Neville and his listeners would use where they'd say these words, "Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful?" Now, what's so powerful about that? Well, stay tuned and you'll see why. And I'll also be sharing an amazing story that I believe will encourage a lot of you out there, because once you understand what Neville was wanting his listeners to actually capture in the saying, "Isn't it wonderful?" then by the end of this, you better be ready for all the boundless opportunities available to you no matter what your situation is, for real. And you can learn more about this from Neville's work called The Law and the Promise in a chapter called Moods and his 1948 Lessons Q&A. Alright, let's be honest here. Many of us have goals that we want to attain, right? We have things we desire. Now, the problem is not that we have goals, you guys. That ain't the issue. The problem is when you believe that you'll only be happy once you achieve your goals. For instance, you'll only be happy when you make X amount of money, or you'll only feel free when your debt's completely paid off, or you'll only be content with life once you get married. The list goes on. But here's what Neville wants us to understand, is that although you can say you're happy because you've achieved your goal, you also got to realize that the process works equally well in the reverse direction. What does that mean? It's when you achieve your goal because you have assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled first and not the other way around. In other words, moods, Neville says, are not only the result of the conditions of your life, but they're also the causes of those conditions. They create the circumstances of your life. They're imaginal activities that are part of the creative process. And here's a very inspiring example of this. Neville mentions a story of a lady who eventually understood the power of her imagination, that imagining creates reality, and that the feeling, the mood, is the secret of it all. As the story goes, this lady was around 55 years old. She was out of a job and had no family to fall back upon for support. And she needed just about everything. And even though she already had a car to look for a job, it was pretty much all worn out and falling apart. She was behind on her rent, didn't have proper clothes to look for work. Her bank account was almost empty, and she had no friends to turn to. Seriously, it was that bad. But she'd been attending Neville's lectures for almost a year, and her desperation forced her to put her imagination to the test. So at first she tried imagining everything that she needed, you know what I'm saying? But it got so exhausting because she needed so many things, and how many of you can relate to that? And then she attended one lecture where Neville talked about an artist, listen closely, capturing the feeling or word, or as he called it, the feeling of "Isn't it wonderful?" in his personal experience. And so the lady applied it to her situation. That instead of imagining everything that she needed, which was just too overwhelming for her, she tried capturing the feeling that something wonderful was happening to her. When? Not the next day or even the following week, but at that very moment. And here's how she did it. She'd say, "Isn't it wonderful? Something marvelous is happening to me now," over and over again whenever she'd go to bed. And she'd fall asleep with that feeling of what you would expect to feel under such circumstances. And she repeated the imaginary action and feeling for 2 months. 2 months, night after night. Talk about determination. Then one day she met with a casual friend whom she hadn't seen for months, who said he was about to leave on a trip to New York. And since the lady used to live in New York, they talked about the city for a bit, and then they parted ways. She forgot about the incident, and a month went by. And to the day, the same man called her apartment and handed her a certified check in her name for $2,500. But that's not all. It gets better, and it had to do with a friend she hadn't seen nor heard from in over 25 years. Now that's a long time, who had become extremely wealthy during those 25 years. Check this out. That casual friend of hers, the one who went to New York, randomly met her other wealthy friend, the one she hasn't seen in over 25 years, by accident during his trip to New York. What are the chances of that? And during their conversation, they spoke about the lady, and for whatever reason, she never figured out why, but her old friend decided to share a portion of his wealth with her. And for the next 2 years, she received monthly checks that not only covered her daily needs, but a whole lot more, like a car, clothes, a spacious apartment, and best of all, she said, no need to earn her daily bread. And if that wasn't enough, she eventually received a letter and some legal papers for her to sign, which provided her the continuation of the monthly income. Listen to this, for the rest of her life. Boom. Think about it, from being out of work at 55 years of age, barely having anything, no support from friends or family, she was behind on her rent, her bank account almost depleted, to literally being taken care of financially for the rest of her entire life. Coincidence? I don't think so. It would have happened no matter what? I doubt it. Not like that. You see, if you were to look at her initial situation purely based on the facts, right, then you could easily conclude that this lady was definitely screwed, straight up. But here's the thing, she didn't rely on the facts and with what she saw with her physical eyes. Rather, and I know this can sound crazy to a lot of realistic people, she denied the evidence of her senses, which is, by the way, the topic of my last video in case you missed it, and she trusted in the power of her imagination. Remember, she did her imaginal activity and feeling for 2 months straight. 2 months straight. She could have given up, right? But nah, dude, she didn't. She put what Neville taught into practice and tested it, for sure, which is what he always encouraged people to do. She knew the real secret. Isn't it wonderful? Folks, it's about the wonder. It's about capturing that feeling right now and not just saying a bunch of empty words. Now, let me clarify something. When Neville mentions feelings in this context, he's not just talking about emotion. That's where I think people trip up. Sure, there's emotion in a certain sense, but to specify, what he means by feeling is the acceptance of the fact that your desire is fulfilled. Because you could say, isn't it wonderful, and feel lack, right? Or you can say, something amazing is happening to me right now, and feel stinking bored. You know what I'm saying? But when you truly accept that what you want is already yours, or you actually feel grateful for it, then it's easy to genuinely say thank you, or isn't it wonderful? Why? Because you've entered that state of being, that state of consciousness. All right, real talk. Some of you watching or listening right now might be feeling like you're in a really tough situation that you seriously want to get out of, where there seems to be so many things going wrong in your life at the moment, and you feel discouraged, you feel hopeless because your goals haven't been reached just yet, or they feel really far off, and so you're thinking that you can't be happy unless you achieve them first. And I'm here to tell you that you gotta reverse that way of thinking. You guys, don't stink and wait to feel really good or amazing or wonderful or whatever until after you've achieved your goals. Capture the feeling now. Capture it first. That's the secret. Then your goals will follow. And instead of getting so overwhelmed trying to imagine all the things you need, condense it. Just like the lady in the story. How? Neville says by imagining something so big, it includes all the little things. For example, he says instead of imagining wealth, health, and friends, just imagine being ecstatic, like being super happy and joyful. By reducing your desires, plural, into a single phrase that implies fulfillment to the sensation of satisfaction, like, isn't it wonderful? Or thank you, thank you, thank you. Whatever you want to say that seems more natural to you with your lingo, like, isn't it awesome? Or something amazing is happening to me right now. And you don't have to use words like wonderful or marvelous, you guys. Just talk the way you normally talk, you know what I'm saying? And repeat the phrase over and over again until you capture the feeling, the one sensation of the wonder of it all, and fall asleep in it. It's like planting a seed. And trust me, just like the story of the lady, quote unquote random stuff will happen that'll confirm the truth of the sensation, where the universe will do some strange things, dude, where accidental meetings will take place, money will show up out of nowhere, spontaneous healings will occur. There are no boundaries, folks, none whatsoever. So persist in your assumption. Persist in your assumption, and with confidence, act and feel as though it were already done, it's already finished, and just watch. Just watch. The facts will dissolve, and your assumption will find expression through you, because you get what you believe. Yeah. Alrighty, guys, hope you enjoyed this, and if so, do me a favor. Please like and share this, or if you're listening via podcast, I'd really appreciate a review because it'll get more people to discover my work and, of course, help spread this message. And I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments below. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button and the bell right next to it to be notified of my next video. I pump these out every single week, so you don't want to miss them. And don't forget to register for my free online training where I teach you how to control your reality through the power of feelings, where I refine this even more so you can get a better grasp on it. So check it out. The link's in the description. Like I always say, more's coming. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.